What is up, everyone? Welcome to the RotoWire DFS show. My name is Jack Burkart. You can find me on Twitter at Jack Burkart, and I am joined by my lovely co-hosts, Jordan Cooper and Ryan Belongia. We are here to discuss tomorrow's four-game Premier League slate. And friends, I take no pleasure in reporting this to you. It is a Manchester City slate. We couldn't get them in an island game, so we have a four-gamer where Manchester City are massive favorites. So if we just do a quick look at the odds, line movements has actually been going towards Manchester City's favor. So they're hosting Leeds United, who have hired Sam Allardyce, who, he might be good as Jurgen Klopp and Pep Guardiola. People are asking the question. And I mean, just huge win odds, huge clean sheet odds. Their implied goal total eclipses almost two of the other games on the slate. It's going to be a slate centered around Manchester City players. We're going to have to discuss how to tackle that. Other games that we're looking at, Tottenham are hosting Crystal Palace. Just a brutal game last weekend as a Tottenham fan. Just total humiliation. So let's not talk about that anymore. But they're pretty big favorites. That might be a low-scoring game against Palace, though. Chelsea are only slight favorites on the road against Bournemouth, which is kind of weird, but Frank Lampard has been horrible. And you have Wolves again hosting Aston Villa as a pick'em. So, Jordan, I looked at DK Sportsbook, and they are posting Erling Haaland at plus 110 to score a brace or better. So how do you approach slates like this? And what do you think about this slate overall when you have such a dominant player that's going to basically decide everything from the outset?
You play Manchester City and the show. I mean, like it's obviously the main thing about playing Man City on the slate is the pricing, is that, these are expensive players, but he's minus 400 anytime to score. Erling Haaland, like you mentioned, plus 110 for a brace or better. So like that's nearly 50% chance at least 24 points, right? Now, obviously on a slate where Haaland is 11-3, it's a 4-game slate, you could survive a goal, right? One, like if he scores one and doesn't get on the screen, doesn't have an assist or anything, just scores one goal, maybe ends up with 16, 17 points. That's survivable, but you still have to make up those points with other people. I mean, like the thing is on this slate, I think the strategic decision you have to make for GPPs, not just cash games, because we'll talk about cash in a second. In GPPs is, do you want to get leverage by playing different Man City players, or do you want to get different by playing no Man City players? It's a matter of not like, do you play Haaland or do you not play Haaland? Do you play Mahrez or do you not play Mahrez? Do you play Alvarez or do you not play Alvarez? Do you play Gundogan or do you not? Do you play 4 of them together? Do you play 0 of them together? I think if you're going to go in, and I think I'd be less likely in GPP, especially large field GPP, to do like Mahrez Haaland. Like, because I think that's going to be the most popular combination forward. That as long as you don't do that, you're fine. But also understand that all these Man City players are correlated to each other. So if this ends up being just a 1-0 Man City game, maybe you could survive and just get one of these other games is 3-2, and you get one of those. Chelsea actually score, maybe something like that, or Aston Villa, they're going for Europa League spots, and maybe that game. But I mean, you look at some of these games and you go, I don't know if any of those games are those games. Like you look at those games and you go, nah, I think it's more likely Man City just wins 6-0. Like I just think, especially with Leeds getting Big Sam now, I think Ryan, what is your take on Big Sam on Leeds? Makes them more defensively sound, because we know Allardyce is a relegation. It's Roy Hodgson, all these guys. Redknapp, I don't know if he's dead or whatever. Like these retreads that come in, they're very good at like this 4-4-2, bunkering style. Hope to get a goal on the counter or on a set piece, and they typically are fairly successful at being defensively sound, even though they'll lose in the process. To me, that just means that Man City just gets more possession, which means like the peripheral value of all these players actually goes up. So, like, if anything, if I were to choose based on that narrative, it's like maybe instead of playing Haaland, you play Mahrez, Foden, Gundogan, those types of guys. And then we also have the elephant in the room of what happens if Kevin De Bruyne is in the starting line.
Yeah, that is a big elephant in the room. So Kevin De Bruyne is questionable right now. I don't think we have him in our projected 11, but he's trained the past 2 days. So there's a whole potpourri of questions. This slate is a lot more straightforward to digest if Kevin De Bruyne doesn't start, because then you don't have a question about what to do with your second forward spot, because then you have to decide if you want to fade KDB or not. And then if he starts, Manchester City have a Champions League semifinal leg at Real Madrid on Tuesday. Is he going to play more than 60 minutes? I mean, is Pep just going to treat it as a tune-up for Kevin De Bruyne? If they're up 2-0 at halftime, sub him off at halftime. So there is going to be a lot of variance inside of. We're just going to have to be ready and flexible to tackle that when the lineups come out an hour before lock tomorrow. Ryan, you've been a Haaland fader a lot in these spots, and we've been talking about it a little bit, and it really does feel like Haaland maybe goes over-owned a lot of times relative to his goal-scoring odds, especially in some of these slates where he was only minus 125. But how are you thinking about this slate when you have a piece like this?
Yeah, I've been talking to you about it here and there. Fading Haaland just hasn't worked. I've been trying it. I thought he's always very popular. He's going to be very popular on this slate, but he just scores every time. So it's been costing me a lot of money. Might be time to just bite the bullet and play him if you're just going to keep scoring. I mean, I guess there is a worry though with that Madrid game. I mean, it would be a worry for Haaland, I think, more than some of the other players. I don't think Pep would want to risk him. Pep wouldn't want to risk KDB. I mean, it seems like KDB is going to start. Obviously, you never know with Pep, but training the last couple days, and he hasn't started the last two matches. So, I mean, it makes the decision for City a little bit tougher if you have KDB starting and you're pretty sure he's going to get subbed. In general, yeah, there's a lot of questions. I'm sort of jumping around. Sam Allardyce going to Leeds. I remember Sam Allardyce from his Bolton days. It was always a tough place to go. I mean, his teams were always the ones that fouled the most, probably the dirtiest, if you want to call it that, wasting time, long balls, all that sort of stuff. In this case, it just doesn't matter. I mean, you can have any kind of plan you want. This Leeds team just isn't good enough to, City's probably the best team in the world. I mean, like you guys said, there's going to be a lot of floor points here, plenty of goal scoring chances. I mean, Haaland and KDB could easily get there in the first half. You wouldn't be surprised at all.
If KDB starts, do you in cash game? Like now, if we go to cash games,
yeah, let's go.
Like to me, in cash games, you would have to think that you play Mahrez and Haaland. I mean, like, would you if you could only play one? Would you prioritize Mahrez over Haaland? Like, would you play a cheaper forward to get in more like floor the rest of your lineup, or is it just too easy to just like set it and forget it and just go Mahrez Haaland? And then if KDB is in, like, do you do anything different? Do you play a 10K KDB in midfield for potentially him only playing 60 minutes?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I was just, I was thinking that if KDB starts, it might be at the expense of Mahrez. I mean, I think the last two times KDB started, Mahrez didn't start. So that's kind of what I was thinking. But yeah, it'd be nice if Mahrez starts. I think you just play Haaland and Mahrez, right? Don't overthink it. I think Mahrez is more likely to go 90. I mean, their floors are similar. Their open play value is similar. So yeah, I think you just go Haaland Mahrez if Mahrez is starting.
So what are we going to do if Riyad Mahrez doesn't start in that case? So let's just say we get a lineup where we have Erling Haaland at forward and then we have KDB starting. So then your options for Manchester City are going to be Julian Alvarez at 10.6K. I mean, that feels okay, but that's a little rich. And then you have Phil Foden at 10.3K if he starts. So I think he's in our projected 11. How would you handle that particular situation at the forward position? Would you still try to jam the two City guys and then like keep KDB? Like, what would your approach to that situation be?
Well, for me, it really comes down to who else is available at forward. Because if we take a look at the rest of the positions on the slate, I think the weakest position on the slate is midfield. I think the strongest position on the slate is defender. Like, I would really want to get an advantage. We're going to see people, maybe less in cash and more in GPP, try to do these Haaland, Alvarez, Mahrez lineups, or play Kane and Haaland together with Mahrez. And what that does is forces you into like 4K, sub 4K defenders. We have defenders on the slate that could put up 10 to 15 points as a floor. And if they get on the score sheet on top of it, you're going to be, you could be down 20 or 30 points in your defender spots. So I'm prioritizing, to me, playing quality defenders. Maybe I end up playing a defender in the utility. Maybe one of the defenders is actually a really cheap defender, but I'm also playing two high floor defenders on top of it. But to me, the midfield position is the weakest. I mean, Mahrez fits in a forward or a midfield spot, so you could play him in a midfield spot. But like the pure midfield is like Olise, and then like you're done. And I don't know if Olise is a priority on the slate at 8,600. So with that being the case, it's like, do I want to play a 6K forward, right? Or do I want to play a 6K defender? Like, I look at Chilwell and Porro, and I go, would I rather have to play Ruben Diaz in one of those spots and then end up playing, like, I don't even know, Buendia, Madueke, or whatever? We'll talk about Chelsea because I don't know what the hell's going on there. It just feels like you could be left in a spot where not having two Man City players in forward just kills you. I almost lean towards, if you're willing to pay 9,700 for Mahrez, and if KDB is in and Mahrez isn't, why not just play Alvarez? Play Foden for all. Just play one. Like, dude, this may sound insane, especially coming out of my mouth. I wouldn't be opposed if Mahrez was not in and KDB was, to not play KDB and play Harry Kane in my second forward spot.
Whoa. The all-time Harry Kane fader.
I just don't think there's enough value at forward. And then what do you're essentially ending up in like these no man's land in midfield spots where you're like overpaying a little bit for John McGinn or Douglas Luiz. You can play Gundogan. Okay, I'm fine with that at 6,200. It just feels like you're going to play a 5K forward just so you could fit in like guys that, like, dude, I'll play Conte at 3,900. I'll play Joe Gomez at 3,400. I'll play one of these low cost midfielders rather than pay a low cost forward. That's what it feels like to me, that it's most likely my two forward spots will be Man City players.
That hurt a little bit, Jack, didn't it?
Yeah, I can't believe you said that John McGinn was overpriced. I could boot you from the show for that, Jordan. No, we'll talk about we'll debate this a little bit later. I think it's really compelling though, because the forward position does feel like if you don't play Manchester City players, you are left exposed. Like there could be a 20-point gap that you have to make up, and maybe the salary that you get from going down isn't worth it. But let's at least talk about the other options. So if you can play two Manchester City forwards or play Haaland and Kane, it's definitely a viable construction. But if you want to play Kevin De Bruyne, you have to do something like play a $3,900 Diego Costa. So Ryan mentioned this to me earlier. That seems very gross, but if it lets you play KDB, maybe it's okay. That's sort of the comparison with the second forward and first midfield spot. Or you could look at someone like Dango Otara. So I was kind of joking with Ryan and DMs that it feels like this Bournemouth-Chelsea game should really be a pick-em. And I think some of these Bournemouth guys could have a decent floor. So what do we think about the trade-off? So how would we compare lineups that instead of starting Haaland Mahrez, start Haaland Utara so that you can play Kevin De Bruyne?
I'll quickly say my first instinct is, why am I paying 5,800 for Utara when I should be playing like defenders in that? Like, it just feels like if I were to list Utara with any other 5K level players, which includes John McGinn, which includes Ryan Christie, even, right? Which includes Porro, Chilwell, It includes there are guys at 5K in the midfield and defender spot that I would rank above Dango. Like, so it's like the only reason I'd be playing Dango is because he fits a forward spot.
Mhm.
And to me, on this slate, it's not a compelling enough reason to me. Like, it's just like if you're gonna do that, you're doing that because you're fading Haaland. You're basically saying I could survive a goal from Haaland, and I'm just gonna fill up the rest of my lineup accordingly. But I don't think you're this all leads to this would be so much easier if KDB just doesn't start.
Well, then it's
So I don't
easy
have
to
to
spend
worry
it
about
twice. Yeah.
But I'm still leaning that if De Bruyne is in and Mahrez is in, like we didn't. What happens if they're both in? I'd still play Mahrez. I'll do Mahrez Hall. I'll still do Mahrez Haaland regardless. But if Mahrez isn't in, like I still feel like there's more value at getting upside at forward than getting a 6-point floor from Dango in a spot where I could get 6 points from anyone in any spot.
Yeah.
Right?
And Harry Kane is compelling. He's minus 125 to score. He's got the shortest goal odds for any non-Manchester City forward. I don't know, Ryan. What do you think? What do you think about these alternative constructions? Do you think there is maybe a bit more merit to spending down at your second forward spots, or have you found Jordan's argument persuasive?
I think this is only if Mahrez doesn't start. I think based on everything we've said, it's pretty simple that you just play Mahrez and Haaland if they both start. But yeah, if Mahrez isn't in there, I think I'd be more okay with Costa. I mean, I don't really care that he doesn't have a floor. I care that I think he'd be $1,000 cheaper than any other forward. More than that, actually. Maybe 1,500 more than any other even eligible forward. So I could get KDB if I wanted. I could get multiple expensive defenders if I wanted. Maybe he lets you get Ederson. And, he is home against Villa. Maybe he scores you a goal. But I don't want to do it. It's only if I was playing Haaland and KDB and Mahrez didn't start. I just feel like the price difference is enough if he's actually the only option down
there. Yeah. I think it does allow you to get up to Ederson and beef up your other spots. So at the cost of not having a Mahrez or a Foden or someone of that type, you would have Ederson, who you feel can kind of counter at least one goal from one of those spots. But maybe you are
out of these guys though. Let's say KDB doesn't start, and we have the projected lineup. Our projected lineup at RotoWire is Laporte, Diaz, Akanji. A 3-man back line. We now have like John Stones and Rodri are like the defensive midfielders. Mahrez, Foden on the wings. Gundogan, Alvarez, central attacking midfield, and Haaland up top. Like, I mean, from a minutes perspective, it's more likely that like what happens is like Grealish comes on for Foden, right? Like, isn't it more likely in this type of setup that if they're up, like Haaland's more likely to be subbed than Alvarez, and Alvarez just plays up top for the rest of the game? Like, it feels like to me that the safest players in this, if we have this exact predicted 11, are Mahrez and Alvarez. Like, Gundogan is more likely to come off for KDB, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. I think Mahrez is the safest player, but just because I don't think he's going to start at Madrid. Like, if I was wrong about that, but maybe. But yeah, it seems like Mahrez and Alvarez, those guys who probably won't start at Madrid. I mean, it's tough to guess what Pep's going to do, but yeah, I agree.
But I'm making the more of the case of Alvarez over Foden. If, like, in the spot of 10-6 versus 10-3. Right? That, well, like, if you have, let's say Mahrez isn't in, and you're like, I want 2 forward players from Man City, like,
it's just,
I feel like I'd rather take Alvarez. And also we've seen that set pieces from Man City are kind of semi-fluid thing. Like, Alvarez has taken a corner or two. Sometimes Foden takes a lot, and sometimes he takes none. And so KDB sometimes takes them all, and sometimes he doesn't take any. I mean, like you're really not playing these guys at those prices for like, oh, maybe he gets 4 corners. But I feel like in this setup, you have on the thumbnail, Jack, you have Joel Alvarez in the thumbnail.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, for GPPs, he's going to be he's going to be lower owned than Haaland or Mahrez in this type of predicted 11. But just even for cash games, like if you're going to play two Man City guys in your forward spots and Mahrez isn't in, is it weird for me to say that like I definitely prefer Alvarez over Foden?
I don't think that's weird at all. I think I would have extreme minutes concerns about Phil Foden. He hasn't been starting lately. I don't know the whole story behind that. Has he been injured, Ryan, Phil Foden, or is he just out of favor?
I mean, I think it was a little bit of both. I'm trying to see. He was definitely out of favor for a little. I don't know how long he's been healthy for. Yeah, Jordan, no, I don't think you're crazy, but I think, if it was KDB, Alvarez, and Foden, we're talking all three of those guys in, I think you could be pretty confident that Foden and KDB split the sets. Alvarez was taking the corners when KDB wasn't in the last two matches. I don't think he's taken any when they're both in. I mean, I guess I don't think.
So, Ryan, let me give you a situation. Let's say the starting lineup: no Mahrez, KDB is in. So basically, Mahrez out, KDB in. It's the same predicted 11 that we have. If I told you that Foden and KDB were most likely, I mean 100% likely, to only play 60 to 65 minutes, and Alvarez played 85 to 90, who would you prefer out of the three?
Yeah, Alvarez. I mean, you want
that's kind of the point that I'm trying to decipher that like
right.
I can't if KDB starts, I can't see him going 90.
No, I can't.
Can we agree on that? And I think if Foden starts, the only way that he goes 90 is if there's no expectation that he's even going to play in the midweek, and I'm not sure if that's the case. So I think Foden plays 70 max anyway. It feels like based on the squad that they have and who's likely going to start midweek, why not just have Alvarez out there for 90 minutes, even if Haaland comes out at 60 and Alvarez just plays up top at the rest of the game? Like, it seems like Alvarez actually has more likely to play 90 than Haaland, right? Because if Man City goes up 2-3-0, it's like, why are we like, dude, get out of here. We don't want you to get injured or anything.
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much agree with all that. I guess a little pushback would be I could see Foden playing 90. Just, I know, like, I agree with your arguments, but if he's not going to be used in the Madrid game, 3 up 3 or 4-0, I could see him leaving Foden out there. But yeah, I agree with you. I want the minutes and make a good case for Alvarez.
Yeah, and I don't know, like, it wouldn't surprise me if Foden wasn't in Pep's plans on Tuesday. So you're saying you're not sure. I don't know. I feel like I entered this conversation and I've left more confused about what I want to do. It feels like we're drawing lots.
Well, it could. I mean, dude, we could have a situation where Foden doesn't start and Grealish does.
Oh, and that's even more annoying because Grealish is 8,800 at a midfield spot.
What happens if Bernardo's in there? I don't think he's going to be, but I mean,
if I don't play him, he's going to score a brace. That's what's going to happen if Bernardo.
Maybe you just fade all these City guys in tournaments.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. Like, we've been moaning and groaning about KDB going only 60 minutes, but I mean, Haaland could only go 45 and still only score one goal. I mean, even in like good spots where he's been really chalky, he scores a goal, and then all the Haaland people are like, "Yeah, Haaland, I got my goal with 80% of the field," and he only scores 16 points. So maybe we can talk about that more in tournaments, but he feels quite risky. I mean, are we just playing Haaland because the rest of the field is he even optimal in cash games with all of these systemic risks?
He's minus 400 to score, Jack. He's plus 110 to score brace. Dude, Champions League slates. Oh,
yeah.
Right? Ronaldo plus minus $1 million. I mean, like it's that type. It's a Lewandowski.
You're right.
Like it becomes just the variance, the range of outcomes is much more bimodal. It's not, it's not nice like playing a Madison or an Elise or those types of guys, but it's like his median outcome.
It is 16 points.
Is 16, right? Yeah. Is 16 points as it is. So it just happens to come in big spurts more than anything else.
Yeah, so that's more of a tournament consideration, I guess, because
right.
Yeah. and we can talk about forward position from a tournament point of view moving on, but we've been talking about, what to do with our forward and how we want to sort of spend a little bit less in our midfield spots. So maybe we can transition to midfield. So KDB 10K, Jordan, you're advocating not playing him even if he does start. So you would just look to plug in Mahrez and Haaland. Who would you like to play at midfield? Who look like the best price adjusted plays to you?
I would love to play Olise, but you're not going to be able to afford him.
Are you sure about that? Elise has been splitting set pieces with Eze, so that's a road game against Tottenham. Not that that's like prohibitive
He
necessarily.
still has a high floor. I mean, it's okay, but I'm just saying he's not even close to a priority. I would do the same thing with Perisic at 7,800. Like I would love to play him, but I mean, I don't know how you play him with Man City. So like, then you go down and you start going. Now you get into this range like Gundogan at 6,200, right? In a game where if Man City has 75+% possession, and Gundogan remember, Gundogan's not playing as a defensive midfielder in Pep's system anymore. He's now playing much more. He's got John Stones and Rodri behind him. So like 6,200, he could, even if he only plays 70, 75, he's obviously much cheaper than the other Man City attackers. But, I mean, he could have 3 shots on goal, 4 chances created. I mean, like, if they continue with possession, even without a goal or an assist, he could be on some free kicks. I mean, I'm much more willing to play Gundogan at 6,200 over some of these other guys in this range. But then we have guys like Douglas Luiz and Ruben Neves and John McGinn and Phil and Ryan Christie and it feels like in this range, from a lineup construction perspective, I feel like how am I getting burned by not playing Ruben Neves at 5,700 and playing like a $3,500 midfielder as a punt, with being my only punt in my lineup now, and now I have like 2 6K defenders. Right, like I just feel like I look at this 5K range and go, I would play Porro and Chilwell over any of these people, no problem. So like, how could I can't consider them a priority at all? I'm much more likely to play 2 cheap midfielders than play any of these guys.
I really like this mid-range for midfield from a tournament point of view, because you have guys who can score 20 points if they happen just to get that one goal, because there are some like modest floors available. It might be a little rich from a cash game point of view, though. I just have a couple points to respond to you. So I went really in the weeds with stats for my article this week, and Ilkay Gundogan in his last 4 starts, he is more attacking, but he only has like 13 touches in the box. So I don't know. I haven't watched all the games perfectly. He is in a more forward position in principle, but he's not really becoming that goal threat, and he's not making as many runs into the box necessarily. Someone in the chat, or Ryan, feel free to object to that.
They're playing Leeds with Sam Allardyce.
Yeah,
I think that's gonna be increased.
Yeah, I would think so too. But I was gonna say I played Gundogan last week or just a few days ago for 5,400, and he got me like 3 points in 90 minutes or something. So I was thinking about that.
I don't know, like just from a tournament for cash, it's fine, right? You have a key piece in the biggest favorite, but maybe from tournaments, he's going to get steamed a little bit, you think. And I don't know, it feels a little bit unreliable to me. So take that for what it's worth, or you can fade me, whatever. Douglas Luiz has been splitting set pieces with John McGinn when he started as a right midfielder. So I don't really even think you can consider Douglas Luiz necessarily. I think John McGinn's a really good play. He's run like 12 fouls in the last 2 games, which feels like a bit of an anomaly, but I think he's been really productive in that role. So as a GPP target, I really like that. But Ryan, from cash games, do you maybe disagree with Jordan? Do you want to attack one of these mid-range prices, or are you looking to more lower range options in your constructions?
I guess I'm not really going to prioritize it. I don't know. I've been thinking more about forward. I don't know why. I was thinking about Jordan mentioning Kane, and I've sort of been warming to that idea that maybe just these midfielders doesn't matter. Spend up at 2 forward spots, punt at midfield, get the good defenders. Yeah, I don't know. That's starting to look better. I don't mind McGinn. I think it's a fair price.
No, I don't mind. I just want to make it clear. I would prefer to play McGinn over a $3,500 midfielder. Just that in order to do that, I'm going to have to sacrifice one of the defenders that I want to play or pay down at forward. And it just feels like that isn't the option. I think the team I wanted to clarify more because it fits into more of these midfield and defender spots or cheap forwards is Chelsea. Because Bournemouth is a good spot. I mean, like you have to expect this game. If Chelsea are going to score and get right, it would be in this game, but you never know.
Chelsea. Seriously, no. Okay, so I was going to say...
The problem is that what I'm asking is that, like, anyone that's in the predicted starting 11, like, is liable to only play, like, 45 minutes, like, other than probably, like, Chilwell and Conte. I think, like, those, like, the only two that I could see anyone coming in at any time.
I've thought this about Chelsea, for a month now, and trying to take shots on these Chelsea guys for a month now, and you just lose every time because they're so bad and Lampard's so bad, and it's almost like Chelsea are getting worse. You can't believe these lineups he's rolling out there either. I mean, so I don't even know if it's that good of a spot. Is anything a good spot for Chelsea anymore? This Bournemouth team has won 4 of 5, I believe, 12 points out of 15, absolutely flying at home now. Chelsea, I mean, no confidence. Who knows who's going to play, how long they're going to play. I mean, Chilwell's fine, but just for me looking at this slate, I've lost money by not playing Haaland recently, and I've lost money by playing Chelsea. So maybe just forget about Chelsea, play Haaland. No,
you got to do that. You got to keep on doing it until you get back to even.
Yeah, not anymore, man. I think it's over for Chelsea. I mean, yeah, I'd take a shot like on some one-offs for tournaments. Of course, some of these guys could score a goal and they're cheap. Madueke, Sterling, Mudryk, whoever. They're all under 6K. The problem with taking the
shots is that, like, I can't see. I mean, look, they're cheap. Like, Havertz is 7K. It's like Havertz was playing 90 almost every game, but now Lampard's back. Now we don't know. Like, dude, I look down. I'm like, wow, Christian Pulisic is 4,300. When do we ever see that? I mean, and then you take a look, and it's like, oh, they have like 7 million people. Like, where's Hakim Ziyech? Like, you can't. No matter who's in the starting lineup, I can't expect them. I almost have to project them all, other than Chilwell and Conte, for 60 minutes. Some will play 90, but who the hell? Which ones are they going to be? So they have to make value in that small amount of time. But if you can predict who's going to play 90, I think they're cheap if you want to take a shot.
Part of I do too. But like part of the problem is also they don't really have the floors you think they would. Like Chelsea, they're not like. They don't have possession. They're not really creating chances. I mean, they've been forced to attack in some of these games because they're losing. But I don't know, from someone who's been trying to play these Chelsea guys and then watching the game, you just feel like, what am I doing? Chan says Pooley God. I mean, I could get behind that because he's only 4,300. So I could get behind. I could get behind Pulisic. I like that comment, but I mean, Chelsea offers no hope for me. I'll probably just go somewhere else.
They're so bad. Like, it's a small sample, but they're terrible. They scored 1 goal since April started. 1 goal in like 5
matches. They have a lot to make up in one game.
Yeah, they're due.
Yeah.
All right, yeah.
Right? I mean, usually I don't think like this, like you said, Jordan, but I've tried with Chelsea over and over, and it just Lampard's terrible and they're terrible and they don't have the players, and I don't know.
Yeah, and I looked at this game log with the mid-April fixture against Wolves, and you'd think, okay, Chelsea should at least like dominate possession against Wolves. And like Chelsea allowed fantasy opportunities to Wolves. Like this goes back to a Bournemouth points. I'm fine targeting some of these Bournemouth guys in GPPs.
Same with Brentford. I watched that whole home match against Brentford. We thought it should be a pretty good spot. Brentford are a much different team on the road. Okay, yeah, Chelsea's going to get right here. I mean, they were clearly the second best team. Basically for the whole game, I couldn't believe it. Just felt like a donkey playing Chelsea guys, and I'm kind of sick of feeling like that.
Yeah, but if you do have to punt, in cash games. And N'Golo Kante does seem fine. He's been a little bit more forward lately. I think in the previous game he was more just like solidly a midfielder, but it seems like his more forward position likelihood hasn't been priced into his 3,900. Who else am I missing? Jordan, are you advocating playing like 2 4K midfielders in the cash game construction and just like saying, screw it, I'm going to play Conte and then freaking Joe Rothwell. I don't know. Actually, don't play Joe Rothwell. He gets subbed early. João Gomez seems okay at least.
Right, that's what I'm saying. That, I mean, those are the two that I like: Conte and Gomez. Højbjerg, I mean, 4,300. I mean, it's a little. Mateus Nunes. So, I mean, dude. Like if you were to say, just pick like what your second midfield spot is the lowest priced midfielder with a green dot, like that wouldn't be that far off from anything that you would play. I mean, you're essentially punting a spot so you could just pay up at defender and pay up at forward. Like, that's fine.
Yeah. So what if we, I wanted to mention that I'll be looking at the Wolves lineup because we might get Pedro Neto for 3,600. He's probably one that you'd play in cash. I'm serious. I mean,
no, I'm not joking either.
We've been talking about Neto. Neto's the longest running. If he plays, we'll play him. Why?
And he did last time, and he got there and played. I don't know if
played 83 minutes.
Yeah, Jack, he played 83 minutes. It feels like one of those like Lopetegui lets the guys out there to show everyone why he hasn't been playing them. Like, just they're getting crushed 4-0, 5-0, 6-0. Okay, you guys have been clamoring for Neto and these guys. Let's just leave them out there. Anyways, like the Hugo Bueno, like we were talking about defenders. So might get Hugo Bueno at 4,100. And then I bring that up because I think there'll be other cheap defenders that people might play too. You might have Totti for 26 and maybe someone. But anyways, what I'm saying is maybe you could play Bueno over Chilwell if you wanted to spend up at one of the midfield spots. I don't think it's like crazy if you're playing Porro, Bueno, and then I don't know, maybe Totti or maybe a City
Ruben
center
Diaz
back
at 3,200.
Yeah, Ruben Diaz, he would be the other one. But if you wanted to get to one of those mid spots, because like I would want to get to McGinn, and I kind of agree about Christie too. I wouldn't mind getting to Christie. I mean, he's better than all these other guys we've mentioned. So yeah, I don't know, something to consider at least. Chan's question in the chat: who's the better play, Perisic versus Porro? I think Porro by a mile.
Yeah, Perisic, Porro's taken all but one of the corners since Ryan Mason's taken over. So I think it's safe to assume that Porro's on at least most of the corners, and Perisic
and he
might
fits in a defender spot rather than a midfield spot.
Yeah, and he's cheaper. And Porro's been taking shots. So yeah, easy game. I'm the Tottenham whisperer. Go Porro, and I hope Perisic doesn't score.
I mean, in a perfect world of defense at Ryan, you'd play Porro Chilwell, right? I mean, like,
yep,
yeah, you would play Porro Chilwell. Yeah,
and I would rank it Porro 1, Chilwell 2.
Yeah, me too.
By a wide margin.
I'm wondering, like, wouldn't like just on his own is Hugo Bueno like a decent play or no?
No, he's better than all the midfielders.
I would rather play Hugo Bueno than N'Golo Kante. I mean, I'd play. I mean, to me, I view Bueno like I'd rather save the 1,400 and play Bueno than play McGinn at 5,500. So like Bueno, in a perfect world, I will play Porro, Chilwell, Bueno, but I don't think we're going to get that perfect world that I'm able to do that.
So basically, my question is Bueno a good enough play that you can play him over Chilwell? Or is that a stretch?
No, I think price consideration. I think that's fine. I think I'm much more likely to do that than play him over Porro. Like the $300 difference between Porro and Chilwell, to me, I'm playing Porro. I mean,
for sure.
That's easy. What do we do? How about dare to mention another Chelsea player, Cesar Azpilicueta at 3K.
3K. I've looked at some constructions where I have a utility spot and I have 3K. I'm like, well, let's play Dave. What could go wrong? I mean
that seems
it's a warm body.
Fine. I didn't even see that, but I have constructions that had Ruben Diaz. So yeah, Chilwell seems fine, maybe even better.
Right? Would you rather play Cesar Azpilicueta at 3K? Let's say you had 3,200 in the spot. Would you rather play Azpilicueta or Diaz?
That's a tough question, actually. I don't know.
I definitely play Diaz. Why are you hesitating?
Well, you might have some, you might have some assist upside with Azpilicueta in there.
You have goal upside with Diaz off of set pieces. We were just talking about how
Yeah.
Leeds are going to concede 80%
plus
possession.
750 goal scoring odds. That's not that much upside.
Well, more upside.
I just one
Azpilicueta.
random thing I'll say, it semi relates to this, but Havertz hasn't been in there for a while now, and he's the only guy that Chelsea have to cross to. And I was sort of kicking myself a few times when I played Chelsea fullbacks, expecting them to cross, even going back to Reece James and Chilwell. And you see they have, Sterling and Pulisic in there, or Sterling and Felix, and they don't cross. I mean, so I just bring it up for Azpilicueta. He'll at least try to cross to Havertz.
I mean, given how much you're going to pay, it sounds more important for that consideration with Chilwell even. So, I mean,
yeah, but Chilwell will be on corners and stuff. So, I mean,
and one more thing about Chilwell. This is I guess, they lined up in a back four against Arsenal, and Chilwell still got as far forward as he could whenever he had the chance. He was one-on-one with Ramsdale a couple times, should have scored one of them. Just, I don't know, to ease people's concerns. If you want to play Chilwell and he's in a back four instead of on the wing, it's like pretty much the same thing when they're playing with three central midfielders like Kovacic, Kante, and Enzo. Like, Chilwell's still going to get as far forward as possible.
Yeah. I think I agree with you both overall. Like, the defenders seem like the best price adjusted plays because you want to play Porro. Chilwell is probably better than all of these mid-ranged options that we've been discussing. Hugo Bueno just seems he's better than all the cheap midfield options that we've been discussing. And if you've punted a utility, Ruben Diaz and Azpilicueta and Totti, they all seem fairly fine. One name I wanted to ask about at defender, and forgive me for being a little bit giga-brained here, Matthias Vina, 4,300 for Bournemouth. He's been shooting. This is a GPP move only, Jordan. I see you shaking your head, but he in one of his starts, he was bombing forward, and I think he got hurt. So, Ryan, do you have any takes on Matthias Vina, or should I just chill?
I mean, I like that you brought it up. You brought him up because he is surely an attacking player. You're right. I watched both those Bournemouth matches, I think, and I mean, any chance, he's going to fire a shot. He's going to try to get in the box, and I mean, he has some skill with his left foot. So, yeah, I mean, it makes sense. He's got some upside, no floor, but
I mean, he has upside. I would rather have if it was 3,300, I'd be much more inclined.
Right. Or maybe if Bournemouth was home against Leeds or something.
Right. I just look at 4,300 for Vini and go, why aren't I playing Hugo Bueno? I mean, like, why? Why? Like, it feels like, what am I getting? Like, yes, in a GPP, like, I would play Vina with Neto in a GPP with no Chelsea pieces. Like that would make a little bit more sense. Like, sure. There's obviously upside. Just like, hey, Moreno. There's upside. Like, we can name all these guys in this 4K range. It's that a lot of times the 4K defenders are the worst options because they're typically not significantly enough better than the 3K options, and they're nowhere close to the 5K and 6K options. Like, that's the reason why you pay up at defenders, because there's the defenders that are at the top are technically underpriced, right? Like really on this slate, Porro should be like 8,400 and Chilwell should be like 7,500. Like on this, and that's how they should always, those type, like Trippier should always be like 9K at defender, only because of the positional scarcity. They always, and the fact that you could even get a clean sheet bonus at defender that you can't get at other positions. That, like that, the opportunity cost of defender, I see people do it all the time. We've talked about it before. That go, I'm going to jam in as many goal scorers as possible and then punt twice at defender. And just look at the results. Download the CSVs over and over again. And you'll see that sacrificing points at defender when you have defenders that can put up 15 plus, you're just not going to score enough goals in the other spots to make up. Like, you need to score like 2 goals in the rest of your lineup just to make up the points to begin with. And then hope to score 4 more goals on top of that typically, playing 2 guys that get 3 points is not a winning move.
One of the things I've noticed from studying the Sharps cash game lineups, if you follow me on Twitter, I do this, and they're always spending more at defender than I am, and I think it just goes to show it. This is a good point. Like defenders just have such like a stable floor, and then you don't have to eat the variance as much. So they always do.
Right, it has a stable floor, while there are not many that do, and the ones that don't, like you're left with 2 points in your you're left so far behind. And you have to roster 2 defenders. It's not like it's a utility position.
Yeah.
You have to roster 2.
Yeah. And so many players in soccer DFS, maybe compared to other sports, can just like score 2 points. So it feels like when you have players who have that floor, you kind of just want to lock that in. Yeah, and I only mentioned Vina. It's just kind of a Galbrain GPP move. I'm going to imagine I'm going to be playing a few Bournemouth-centric lineups. And so if I have 200 and Bueno, I just make that Vina, and it makes sense.
Playing someone over Bueno is fine because he's got plenty of 5-point outcomes, and at one guy's going to be 25% owned and one guy's going to be 5%. I mean,
yeah, he's not like a first guy in the lineup. I just think it might a sprinkle, if I want to use an overused tout word. Any other thoughts at defender? Because I have a thought at goalkeeper. So
you got the wheel? Do you got the wheel?
I'm not doing the wheel. The wheel's been canceled because the last 2 times the wheel went, we had like an early Emi Martinez exit. And I think the other one, there was an own goal on Sam Johnson. So
I thought we did the wheel with Johnstone and it worked out when I was gone.
Well, you were gone and now you're here. So it doesn't work.
But so this time you actually have an actual goalkeeper take?
I have trust me, I have an actual goalkeeper. So if you were watching our videos during World Cup, Ryan and I talked about the sibling correlation. We advocated for playing both Hazard brothers in a Belgium slate. Now, if Pedro Neto starts for Wolves, if I look to the cheapest home goalkeeper, that's Bournemouth's Neto. So Ryan, is this a correlation that we can't possibly ignore for our goalkeeper selection?
Yeah, I mean, just lock them in, right? You lock both Netos in.
The Neto correlation. You heard it here first.
I think he's the best goalkeeper play for price on the slate anyway. I mean,
oh yeah, for sure. I mean, Chelsea scored one goal.
I think I'm more likely to play like Sa. Obviously, they're the home underdog goalkeepers, Sa or Neto, in my lineup. I don't think I'm going to have the money to pay up for Ederson, right? And I think if you're going to pay up a goalkeeper, you're paying for Ederson or going down, which means like guys like Kepa and like Emi Martinez are going to be like lower owned, but it's goalkeeper. Like, come on, spin the wheel. Good luck.
Yeah, and just spin the wheel when you're not on the show. Otherwise, we're trusting the Neto correlation. Yeah, Neto is the best play at goalkeeper, I feel like, just because of his price, the context of the slates, and Chelsea have only scored 1 goal since April. Just feels like you can kind of target it's going to be a lower variance goalkeeper, which is nice as well. So
wait, Jack, until 10:02 Eastern in the Discord, when like Madueke scores 2 minutes in, and it's like, oh great.
Oh, I thought you were going to say that he's late scratched and Bournemouth tweets it at 10:01. And
that may be better. Maybe Chelsea scored 4 goals, and it's like, oh, thank God I didn't play Randolph or Travers and get -3.
Yeah, maybe Chelsea scores 4 goals. I will fade you on that one, Jordan. No one wants to hear any more of our goalkeeper thoughts, so let's talk about how we can win some GPPs. I was thinking about who we can play at the forward position and who's going to be popular, and I actually have some GPP opinions. So if you don't mind me, I can give a couple thoughts, and then you can roast my takes. So I do like Bournemouth pieces in GPPs for this because I think Chelsea stink, and I think Bournemouth are at home, and they still need points to ensure their safety in the league. And everyone's pretty well priced. Like Dango at 5,800, he could get 8 points in a goal. So there you go, 20 points. You need guys who can get 20 points if they score. A Christie at 5K makes plenty of sense if you're going to play him with Bournemouth pieces as well. And how many people are going to play a $7,700 Dominic Solanke on this slate if he starts? Like absolutely no one. So from a large field point of view, you could get a cheeky 4% brace from a Solanke at that price. That seems completely within the range of outcomes. I mean, it's not a good play, but if I want to beat 2,500 other people, it's something I'm considering trying out. The other player I like, because I'm going to be playing a lot of Pedro Porro, is Wilfried Zaha. How many people are going to spend $8,000 for Wilfried Zaha? And how many people would be shocked if Wilfried Zaha terrorizes this horrible Tottenham Hotspur defense? Jordan, what do you think of my GPP tactics? Do you have something else in mind?
You missed the best play on the slate.
Oh, who's the best play?
You missed it. I thought you were going to go there. I'm like, okay, Jack's obviously going to go there, and I'm going to lose all my luster because I'm just going to say, yep, I agree with you. You went around everything other than the best play. I mean, I'm obviously in asterisk. It's not the best
button.
play. Right. It's the lot. Right. 7,700. Ollie Watkins. Who's playing Ollie Watkins on the slate? You take a look at the standings. Here's the take. Other than the fact that he's going to be low owned, like he's going to be single digit owned on this slate. So like he's going to be less owned than Zaha, I think even. Aston Villa is pushing for a European spot. Palace are safe. They have 40 points. They don't care. Who cares? They have nothing to play for, really. Wolves are they have 37 points. Pretty much safe, right? Bournemouth is safe. I mean, like, it just feels like if anyone's going to go 90 minutes and try to actually score a ton of goals or something, it's going to be Villa, even though they're not the best offensive of teams. But Watkins most likely plays 90. I mean, they have nothing else to do. So, yeah, why wouldn't he play? Wolves, those players play, who knows, right? We take a look at, like Palace. It's not like Zaha is 100%. So it's not like Zaha is like a lock for 90 minutes anyway. I don't know. It just feels like Aston Villa are the team where you look at it and go, I don't think anyone's going to play anyone here. And they actually have it may come down to goal difference for them to get the last Europa League spot or something. Like, I don't know. Am I using that too much as we're heading into the last 4 weeks of the season. Like, this is the time where it's like Aston Villa is known for playing their guys like 85 plus minutes. Like, dude, these are our best players. We already, Leon Bailey's probably is out and Coutinho. Like, there's no one to come in for these guys. So why not play the plus 160 to score guy on a team that's Wolves gave up 1 million goals the other time. So, I mean, like, it's not like they're the most defensive of teams. No. I don't know. Am I weird to say that I'd rather play Watkins over anyone that you mentioned?
No, that's fine. I mean, just
those are all good takes.
It's a very similar construction, Jordan. You can play I would play like Ryan Christie along with Dominic Solanke, but that's a very similar construction to McGinn plus
McGinn plus
Ollie Watkins. Yeah, right. That sounds like a great. That's Jack Burkart approved, Jordan. Ryan, what do you think?
No, I agree with both those takes. I mean, I don't really know what else I can throw out there. I'm not going to recommend Leeds here away to City. We've sort of talked about Chelsea. Yeah, I could get behind Solanke or Watkins. A lot of good points there. Palace, I might as well mention the other guy. He might be lower owned than Watkins. What about Jordan Ayew?
I like that all. The thing about the Tottenham, like, I don't think Tottenham keep a clean sheet.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it, right?
It doesn't seem like it. It's just a matter of that Crystal. I don't necessarily see Crystal Palace having a lot of the ball. Like, it almost feels like you're playing Crystal Palace players more for a goal, which is why I almost prefer Ayew over like Zaha. Like, well, Zaha can take penalties, so that's a different story also. Like, over an Olise or an Eze. It just seems like a lot of Palace players are expensive.
Yeah.
For a team that's probably only going to get less than 50% possession. Yet I look at the Aston Villa side and go, I could see Aston Villa getting 60+% possession in this game. And, like, why can't I play Buendia or Ramsey or Watkins, McGinn, Matty Cash could be, who knows? Maybe Matty Cash is back.
Oh, Lord. I hope not.
Right? Matty Cash is 44, whatever. But I'm just saying they're cheaper and the goal totals aren't really significantly different. And I think the ownership is not going to be significantly different either. And being that the fact that a lot of people are going to be playing Poro maybe means more people play Palace players in GPP. And I think the Aston Villa Wolves game is like, I don't think anyone wants. I think more people would rather say, yeah, Chelsea suck. Let me play Bournemouth, right? Than Aston Villa against Wolves. Because I think a lot of people would play like Sa at goal. They're going to go, I'm going to build my lineup around Chilwell, Poro, right? Bueno, right? They look around, and they go, oh, I don't have any Aston Villa players. And I'm gonna play Sa at goalkeeper. So it's like,
I think that's exactly what happens a lot of times. Yep.
Right. So you get a 23%, own goalkeeper. It's like, dude, there's extra leverage there. And the Aston Villa players are fairly cheap. I mean, we've seen Watkins be like 9,800 on some slates.
Yeah.
Right. Who says that I mean, dude, you could play Watkins in the same lineup that you play Haaland and Mahrez. I mean, like it's doable. It's not like you have to replace any of these people.
Yeah, you get him in a midfield spot, right?
Right. You can play him in a midfield spot. And you can play another Aston Villa player with it. If you want to, let's say you're not going to play Mahrez or Haaland in the forward spot. Well, who do you play your second? You could play Buendia and Watkins together. Right. You could play McGinn and Watkins. You could do so much stuff at that price range. I think more so than a Kane or a Son at the 9K range, or even like Eze and Zaha. It feels like you're saving like 2,000, but I don't know where I'm putting it as much.
Yeah.
But with Watkins, I think you save enough where it's like I can now I don't have to play a 3K midfielder anymore.
Yeah, and then you just get that correlation with one of these good 5K level players.
I'm telling you, Ryan. I'm telling you what I'm doing in the 245 mega. Did you already got all your tickets? You can't play that anymore.
I'm rooting for you. Yeah, I can't play it.
Well, I'm thinking I'll play. It's a 38 man top 3 pay, whatever like that.
Yep.
I think I could play Watkins and maybe be one of only one, maybe or 2 people that have Watkins.
I think so too. Yeah, that's a good call.
Sounds like a great strategy for the price structure with that. Well, I think it's been almost an hour. It's a pretty good breakdown. Anyone else have any takes they want to get off their chest for this one? We'll see if Big Sam is indeed up there within the Mount Rushmore of managers and deserves to be mentioned with Arteta, Pep, and Klopp. But consider me a doubter. But you should consider me a believer in the RotoWire.com cheat sheet. So if you're not a member, if you've enjoyed the show, please go to the cheat sheet, become a subscriber. You can try us out for 48 hours. Join the Discord, see how much value we offer. Cheat sheet's one of the best tools. It makes all your research easy. And please join us. And good luck, everybody, tomorrow. I hope you all finish second place in the contest I play in. Cheers.
Thanks, guys. Good luck, everybody.